You've probably heard the stories, right? This unstoppable, ravenous tide of ants sweeping across the forest floor, devouring everything in its path. They're called driver ants, and boy did they have a reputation. But how much of that terrifying image is actually true, and how much is just fiction? Well, let's dig in and separate the truth from the terror.
It's the kind of thing that gives you nightmares, isn't it? The idea of being overwhelmed, completely consumed by a legion of insects. It's a fear that's been drilled into us by movies and campfire stories for decades. But seriously, could it happen? Could a swarm of driver ants actually eat a person alive? That's the big question we're going to tackle.
To get to the real story, first we've got to cut through the myth. And you know where that myth was born? Not in a real jungle, but in Hollywood studios and horror novels, where these incredible creatures got turned into giant, flesh-eating monsters.
And the difference between the movies and reality is, well, it's huge. You remember that scene in Indiana Jones where the Siafu ants strip a guy down to the bone in seconds? Pure fiction. In reality, while their bite is super painful, it's just a warning, a defense. And that miles-long unstoppable horde? Nope. They march in columns, but they're closer to 100 meters long. As for their diet, they're not eating jaguars. They mostly eat other insects and earthworms.
Okay, so let's leave the movie monsters behind and meet the real driver ants. The science behind them is way more fascinating. They're not defined by some mindless bloodlust, but by a really unique set of behaviors that scientists have a name for, the army ant syndrome.
See, army ant isn't one specific species. It's more like a lifestyle that has three key ingredients. First, they are obligate group predators, which is a fancy way of saying they have to hunt together in these massive swarms to survive. Second, they're total nomads. They never build a permanent nest. They are always on the move looking for food. And third, they're queens of these wingless, super specialized egg-laying machines, which is pretty different from most other ants.
And when I say massive, I mean it. Just look at this number. A single colony can have over 20 million individuals. To put that in perspective, that's more than the population of New York City, all moving and hunting together as one giant superorganism.
And at the very heart of this incredible superorganism is the queen. Get this, driver ant queens are the biggest ants on the entire planet, growing up to 63 millimeters long. They also hold the record for reproduction in the insect world, laying several million eggs every single month.
With literally millions of new mouths to feed all the time, it's no wonder they can never stay in one place. They burn through the local food supply so fast that the entire colony has to pack up and migrate. This constant movement isn't just a quirk, it's the engine that drives their entire existence.
So let's circle back to that bite. Is it bad? Oh yeah, it's extremely painful, and their jaws are strong enough to slice right through your skin. But, and this is the important part, scientists are really clear on this. It's a defensive warning to get you to back off and leave the colony alone. It's not an attempt to eat you. So, we've busted the Hollywood myths, and we've met the real ant. But the science behind them gets even more interesting, believe it or not. Their family tree isn't a simple, straight line. It's got this amazing twist that shows you just how adaptable these insects really are.
Okay, so here's the puzzle for you. Most types of army ants live their entire lives underground, completely in the dark. So where did these famous surface-rating driver ants, the ones that inspired all the legends, even come from? Well, the answer is a pretty wild evolutionary journey. Thanks to DNA analysis, we've actually been able to map it out. The story starts deep underground with their ancient ancestors. Then, one group started moving up, hunting in the leaf litter on the forest floor. From that group, we get the surface swarmers we all know. But here's the crazy part, the real plot twist. Another group did a complete 180 and evolved back to living underground, basically reinventing the lifestyle of their ancestors. It's just a fantastic example of what's called convergent evolution. Now, far from being just mindless monsters, driver ants have this long and, frankly, amazing history with humans. And in some cases, their most intimidating features have actually been used in ways that are surprisingly helpful, even life-saving.
So we've established that those powerful scissor-like jaws aren't designed to make a meal out of you.
They're for stitching you up. Yeah, you heard me right. For centuries, these ants have been one of nature's most brilliant little medical devices.
The ingenuity here is just incredible. Indigenous groups in East Africa, like the Maasai, have been doing this for ages. You get a cut, you press the wound together, you get a big soldier ant to bite across the gap, and then you gently twist off its body. The jaws are so strong that the head stays clamped shut, holding the wound together just like a surgical staple while it heals.
absolutely amazing.
And beyond first aid, they're basically nature's perfect pest control. A lot of farmers are actually happy to see them coming. A single raid can clean out a field, removing up to 100,000 insects, including really destructive crop pests. Even things like venomous scorpions don't stand a chance against the swarm's coordinated attack.
And all of this brings us to what is, without a doubt, their most important job. Driver ants aren't just a weird species or a handy tool. They are what's known as a keystone species, a pillar that helps hold up the entire rainforest ecosystem.
So we really need to completely flip the script on how we see them. The swarm isn't an agent of destruction, it's an engine of life. The chaos it creates is actually a wave of opportunity that hundreds of other species absolutely depend on to survive.
What you get is an entire ecosystem on the move. As the ants march, they flush out thousands of other insects. This moving buffet attracts all these specialized birds that literally follow the ants for a living. Above them, you've got wasps and flies letting their eggs on the insects trying to escape. Then you have butterflies that feed on the bird droppings. And of course, animals like pangolins and chimps eat the ants themselves. All told, it's estimated over 300 different species might have evolved to depend directly on these swarms.
This makes them incredibly valuable for conservation. See, driver ants can't survive out in hot, sunny, open areas. They need the cool, dense shade of an old, healthy forest. So their presence, along with the whole parade of birds that follows them, is a living, breathing vital sign. It tells you that the forest is thriving.
So we started with a monster from a movie, but the truth is so much more complicated and, frankly, so much more important. The flesh-eating horror story, that was always just a myth. The real story is their absolutely critical role as ecosystem engineers. The true horror would be a world where they disappear, because if they go, they could trigger a chain reaction, taking hundreds of other species right along with them.